You're on.
All set? All right, good morning. It's Monday, January 24th, Tuftonboro Board of Selectmen's meeting. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public input before we get started? All right, first item is review and approval of minutes from Friday, January 14th.
I move that we approve the minutes of Friday, January 14th as written.
You still looking for
I'll
them?
second.
All right,
Find it.
I think they were there on top.
Yeah, they're in the folder. Right under that. Oh, right there. Right there.
Just one page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. They're stuck. There they are.
All right. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right. Move on to,
Bill, was that a non-public on Friday?
Yes.
Oh, okay, fine, that's all it was.
yes,
Because it wasn't posted, and I couldn't,
well,
not that I would have been here, but that's besides the point.
The non-public wasn't posted.
Okay, all meetings, anytime the selectmen have to meet, have to be posted, okay? Because I'm getting confused as life goes on. And I just wanted to make sure I did not miss anything, okay? We had this discussion already. You said you didn't have to post it.
Non-public. But these are posted.
I understand, but all meetings that these people meet at has to be posted. People have to know what's going on.
that's
Okay.
that's true.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm
But
not asking.
we didn't have any sessions on a day that wasn't posted.
As long as it's on the website, say, yeah, the selectmen are having a party. That's fine. I don't care. Okay, but people know what's going
Right.
on with you. That's
All
all.
I'm saying is we didn't have a meeting of any sort that was not posted.
Right. but
Okay,
that's-
so we had, on the date that we had this meeting, we also had some non-public sessions, okay? Non-publics,
But the rule of thumb used to be, okay, anytime the three of you people met,
that's correct.
it would be posted.
It is.
And that's all I'm asking, okay? Don't care what the content is, I just
And
want to know. That's just
that's
me.
right, that's a law, and that's what we do.
Okay,
Anytime we're having a board session of any sort,
well, yeah, but clarify, non-public, you still notice, but people aren't going to attend.
so if we have a non-public, all
Yes.
right, it's only a non-public session within a board meeting, all right? So we
Within-
may have a meeting of this board in which there is no public business,
Right, that's correct,
but it's a public meeting until we go into non-public session.
right, and I'm not arguing that fact.
Right.
I'm only arguing the fact that if it's up on the website, I would see it. So maybe I could plan my day accordingly, okay? I'm just saying, I'm the only one that's complaining about this, because the other 2,500 people in town, I don't know where the hell they are, okay? So, I'm asking,
So you're suggesting that we had a meeting that was not posted?
I'm saying that you had a
Are you
non-public
suggesting that
meeting.
if we have a non-public, you're not gonna be there,
That's correct.
unless you're the subject of the
Yeah, but I want to know what you're doing. I didn't ask you what you had for lunch. I just wanted to know if the three of you are meeting, that's all.
And in any time we have a meeting, even if it's only to facilitate non-public session, it will be posted.
Okay, that's all I'm
And as
asking.
far as I know, it always has been posted.
Okay,
Right,
just clarify. Thank you for the clarification.
all right, good. Mr. Hanscom, come on
Yes.
down. Thank you for coming today.
Sure.
You know the subject of our conversation, right?
Yes, sir.
The Tuftonboro Four Corner, where we continue to have accidents and incidents, and we're looking for a good way forward from where we are now to a safer intersection. And I know our fire chief and our police chief both have voiced suggestions on ways that we can improve it, right? Such as a flashing stop sign rather than just the regular stop sign, adding, and that of course would be on us, it's on our road, adding signage in advance of the intersection on the state highway that says dangerous intersection ahead, or whatever the standard wording is. I know we've talked about adding signs on a town road that say cross traffic doesn't stop, that sort of thing. So we want to move forward in a way that helps us improve the safety at the intersection. And I guess from my standpoint, we're not looking to blow things up and start over. We're not looking to do what we have at 28 and 171 for sure. We want to improve what's there and do it with the knowledge and involvement to the extent that DOT can with the state.
We're great at free advice. Fortunately, the free advisor for Bureau of Traffic, which take care of sign signals and pavement markings, which is basically what you're talking about, is in quarantine, so he couldn't be here this morning. But what are the nature of the crashes that you're experiencing? What's the root cause of them?
Vehicles are going through from Ledge Hill Road to Durgan Road, or from Durgan Road to Ledge Hill across Mountain Road, and either not stopping or not yielding, because they either don't see the stop sign, or they feel that the last person felt that it was a four-way stop and just pulled out and hit.
Or they can't see that far. In some of the intersections, there's obstructions.
But I was at the office briefly to pick up a couple items, and when I said my goodbyes to the maintenance supervisors, each of them have had an experience at the intersection, both successfully, but they won. They won. One with fancy maneuvers and one with just luck. But they both said it was traffic coming up Ledge Hill Road that didn't bother to even decide they wanted to stop. So it sounds as if enhancing visibility to the signs in the intersection. I've only been out back there a couple of times. Back the last time we talked about this in 2018, and I guess I can see how it would be possible to not know there's an intersection coming along. But it also seems to me that most people that would be on Ledge Hill Road or Durgan Road would be locals and not.
The last person just moved to the area.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
The one before that was somebody that was doing construction in the area, so they weren't familiar.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of volume in any direction, but it seems like most people are from around and might know that. It's the oddballs, but I think we like to start with least to most, with incremental improvements. You can maybe figure out what one fixes it, rather than throw a dartboard at the wall and do a bunch of stuff. Obviously, improving signage is the cheap way out, or the least expensive way out. Overhead flashing beacon comes with its own set of issues with cost and continued maintenance of the signal. It does. I know that when I looked at it back in 2018, the house on the southeast corner was pushing snow towards the intersection, and there's continued parking in front of that building. Of course, the property is about the size of the building, barely bigger than that, so there's not a lot of options there, but if it's people not recognizing the stop signs there, it doesn't matter if they can see either way or not, they don't care, because they don't know they're supposed to. So we could ask a couple of folks from the Bureau of Traffic to meet up with the police chief, fire chief separately and visit the intersection and make some suggestions on what either or both parties could do out there. And we can venture down the side road and see what's there, what's lacking, what could be added in there.
Does the state have any experience with the flashing stop signs? I see them lots of places around the country that I go. It seems to be kind of a standard traffic control device now for increasing visibility at a sign that needs increased visibility.
The lead shield sign sits back, there's a bush there, there's a signpost there, and it's near the house. It kind of, if you don't know it's there, a lot of people, it lacks conspicuity, if you will, to stand out unless you know it's there.
Well, clearly it needs to be conspicuous. So whether it needs to be relocated. New Hampshire is not big on gimmicks because they're new and flashy for a while, and then people forget that they're as well. Same with the beacon and some with other stuff. I frequent Maine, my family's from Maine, and there's some curb chevrons on ramps that have the outline on them. There's some stop signs in Newport that have the exterior. New Hampshire, and again, this isn't my show, it's somebody else's show at Pure Traffic, but they're pretty resistant to going to the gimmicks for the most part. One standard that is a national standard in the last decade is the reflective strip down the post. So the red stop sign, you could add the cross traffic does not stop. Again, if these guys aren't stopping, it doesn't matter. But then the red reflective strip down the post adds another square foot or two of retroreflectivity. Could catch an eye if it was set in the right position, in the right location. Bushes are not good, and being in conflict or in competition with other signposts and stuff is not a good thing either. Stop sign needs to be there by itself. I don't know the dimension of the sign that's out there, but
Do you know, Jim?
Well, I think it's the standard size. The state actually installs them. They do all the stop signs at the intersections of the state roads. But it is a standard stop sign that's consistent around town.
so it could be increased. If it's like a 24-inch sign now, it could be bumped up to a 30-inch or a different dimension that would add square inches of
My guess is it's a 36 right now.
they probably would go bigger than that. But again, we can ask a couple folks from Bureau of Traffic come out and look at it specifically with the road agent and others if you're choosing to see what should happen at the intersection in advance of the intersection.
One thing I have seen around, not the flashing around the edge of the stop sign where we see other places, but a flashing beacon above the stop sign. A number of towns use those. And again, presumably, all this stuff is designed to increase the visibility of the traffic control device. And does the state have any data on benefits of those things? I mean, obviously, we collect data on accidents and incidents and those sorts of things, but is there any correlation that's been done with, for this type of device, the likelihood of incidents is reduced?
I'm sure there's nationwide studies that have been done. I don't know the answer. And there's no way to document crashes that didn't happen.
Right.
But you would be able to document a reduction in crashes if there's a history there. But I don't have the information. I'm sure there are multiple studies over the years. Is there a time, day or night, when the crashes are more likely to happen? Are they nighttime crashes or daytime?
Daytime.
Are they? So a street light overhead won't help that any, so can't make it any brighter than daytime.
Yeah.
One of the issues is if you're heading north on 171 Mountain Road, heading towards Moultonborough, you don't necessarily know that there's a crossroad. You don't necessarily know that Ledge Hill Road's on your left, because that house, you don't see cars coming up from Ledge Hill until they're right there. And then you add that, like this time of year, the snowbank. I went up there the other day, the snowbank from that house goes up behind that stop sign. I'm looking to my right. The point of no escape is beyond the point of perception.
Yep.
And that's a serious problem, but I don't know. They don't have any place else to put it either, really.
Yeah, one of the suggestions I made in 2018 is convincing them to plow it in the other direction, or maybe for the town forces to come in and remove the snow periodically to make that obstruction go away.
So they did try to plow the other way,
But
and the
somebody's house right
property
there.
owner, the person that actually owns that house, only owns like 2 feet past the side of their house. So they were not allowed to push snow the opposite direction. And we have actually the town garage, us and the state garage have removed snow multiple times up there over the years. We continue to do so, but we're just a little bit behind at the moment.
Yep.
I recall a Warren article in the 70s where we were going to take that house, but they never exercised that Warren article. But I mean, that's the ultimate solution for that.
So remove the structure.
I think that would be the best solution.
Make it a different type of intersection on the Ledge Hill side. I don't know how you fix the Durgan Road side.
Well,
I think we have, seems to me we have more incidents, accidents for people coming from the Ledge Hill side than the Durgan side. Would you say that's correct? That's
And they
my,
get pushed into the Durgans.
yeah.
I'd say that's correct, but still coming from Durgan, there's those shrubs along 171 that do impact your ability to look for cars coming from Moultonborough. It's not as bad, and the stop sign on that is very conspicuous. It's out in the open. There's nothing around it to distract your view of it versus Ledge Hill. It's you can see it if you know it's there, but there's other things that kind of
Those bushes in the summertime are definitely an issue, as you say.
Yeah.
However, those are in the state right away, and those could be removed.
Oh, on 171.
And you're looking down from
Towards
Durgan.
Durgan, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the summertime when they're in bloom, it makes it a little tougher. It's not as bad as coming up Ledge Hill. But right now it's not bad. There's no leaves on them, but the bushes could be removed. And I know the owners. I can contact them and see if they'll just let their caretaker remove those for us.
And I know on Ledge Hill side, Jim contacts them and trims those bushes back on the Ledge Hill side.
Right.
So it does, but I mean, if you look at it, there's the sign, there are the bushes, you know what I mean? In the
Right.
background and around it, it's just not conspicuous
And that
for somebody who's not
There's
looking.
some hemlock branches there too that are a bit obtrusive, so
There's nothing that blocks it per se, but there's a lot of clutter around it.
Yep,
I can work with that.
clearing the clutter would be a good thing.
So signage on 171 is an issue and speed is an issue. Because I'm not certain that is at a lower speed zone through there.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Well, it's
35.
35 all the way from 171 to just beyond there.
Right.
Then it goes to 40.
The's no signage, if you're coming up.
Yeah, there's no warning about the, you're
There's no
right.
speed sign come south or west or east, I guess it is east.
There's no change from 171, from
Right, so if you-
28 to there.
So if you started at Sodom Road,
There is a sign.
yeah, kinda.
Yeah, and it's 40 until you get about to Matt's house,
Matt's
and then
house.
it drops to 35.
Yeah.
And it's 35 from there on out to Ospey.
Yep. But when you're coming from Ospey towards Moultonborough, it's not real clear that there's a road come on your left. You know, it looks like it's fairly straight with a road to your right. It's not real conspicuous because the way that house sits in the snowbank now, you don't see that there's an
There's
road coming
still
from
a
your left.
passing zone as well up there.
You know, that's quite a bit back.
It's still within sight of Ledge Hill Road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can see the bottom of the hill from the top.
I thought it was up by Hodgdon's. I thought they got rid of this.
Just past Hodgdon's.
Yeah, okay.
So
I know, we can time it. It doesn't take that long
But
to
we
get to
do.
Ledge Hill Road.
on 171, there are intersection signs posted in advance of the intersection, I believe. Am I right?
It should.
You know, I mean, one of those triangles that shows this
Correct.
ahead.
Yep.
So, I mean, I hear what you say about you don't necessarily see it, but if there's a sign before we get to that intersection that shows that you got an intersection
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't know if it has the road names on it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
It went,
Crossing roads.
we went through 3, 4, 5 years ago and replaced all the signage statewide with a few different projects. So the sign should be there. I don't recall if the nameplates were part of that or not, or if it's just the signs.
Yeah. So, will the state put a dangerous intersection sign below that on the advanced sign? No?
No. You would be hard pressed to find any signs on the state highways that says dangerous intersection.
Okay.
The intersection sign is there, but we don't advertise true or false whether it's a dangerous intersection.
Don't you do like blind intersection or blind road or something?
Occasionally there's a blind driveway maybe, but very seldom. There's not a lot of signage like
Well, I
that.
noticed,
You could take the deaf child sign down and move it up there.
yeah, the intersection of 171 and 109 over in Moultonborough, I know they recently added signs to the existing signage that said, traffic from the right doesn't stop, traffic from the left. Those are new signs. They just,
Yep.
recently went in, but, which I think is a good addition.
Yeah.
Summertime coming, going on to 171 off of 109 over there in Moultonborough. More times I have some idiot come up 109, pull right out in front of me.
That's why when I came through this morning, I put my left-hand direction
Yeah.
on it to
Yeah.
say that I'm going straight through.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
sounds like you need a sign on 171 that says crossing traffic does not stop, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we can ask traffic. I'll send you an email and you can make a request to traffic that someone comes down and visits with the road agent, police chief.
Would that be Bill again?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bill Mantle.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to him the other day, and
Yeah.
he's sick, so.
Yeah, yeah, they could do a couple folks on their staff that deals pretty much exclusively with signage. So.
Okay.
And I noticed on 153, you go to Maine, so over there in Effingham. There's rumble strips coming up into that intersection,
Mm-hmm.
and they're coming to 25. Are those effective? I mean, I hear them every time I take my kids to King Pine, but
I guess it's anybody's guess that got your attention.
yeah. Well, there must be some reason behind it.
I would guess, they were there before my time, but I would guess that it was a result of folks going around the S-curve and not realizing there was a stop at the end, which seems a little
Yeah, that's why
suspicious to me.
that's why that
but-
curve was put in to wake people up before they got to
Isn't there also when you
intersection.
get onto 89, it's rumble strips in the road there? In Concord, when you, well, Bow, when you turn off 93 to go into 89, I think there's rumble strips in there, in the road you have to go across.
Travel that at least 4 times a year, and I don't recall
Someplace
it.
in there was one,
And I've been there
Right in
in
the travel
December.
lane.
right in the travel lane, yeah, when you go,
I don't remember that one
Me
anyway.
neither.
it's either that or it's when you get on the off ramp. Someplace in there was one.
That could be an option as well. We added on the other side of 28, coming up to the intersection at 171. We put some transverse rumble strips in there in the year before the roundabout was constructed.
Right.
Because again, there was some drivers that came upon that intersection. So that could be an option to add it to the town road.
How many complaints do you get, like in a residential area?
Well, that's always the trade-off. I don't recall hearing any complaints about the ones in Ossipee. In Effingham, there's nobody that lives terribly close.
Yeah,
by.
and Ossipee, those are all commercial buildings too.
That's
So,
right.
On that corner,
There's a
yeah.
residence
Not
there
trying to-
someplace, but there's not much.
Yeah.
That could be an option as well.
And that would be on the town, because it's on the town road.
We could give you some guidance on the how-to part of it, for the layout and the dimensions of the notches and things. That's a little bit of seat of the pants. I don't know if there's any clear standard that those go by, but
Well, we're not, I don't know, when are we repaving Upper Ledge Hill Road there, James?
I don't have the year on the top of my head, but
Not this year,
it's not
and
this
probably
year.
not next year, right?
I don't know.
Maybe
There's-
between now and then we can get a little more feedback on why the state might have felt that's a good thing to do. So that when we do repave, if we want to have that option, that's obviously when we do it.
you probably want to do it before you pave, because if you don't like them,
Then you
you
just
can make
pave
them
them
go
all.
more. Don't wait and do it on the new pavement. Maybe.
Yeah. State found that out the hard way, didn't they?
Yeah.
On 28 and Walton, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
But yeah, that would,
all right, any other thoughts for Mr. Hanscom? I appreciate you coming over to,
it's a short distance from my office, but it's a 50-minute ride around the lake.
yeah,
So
right, well, once they put the bridge in, it'll be a lot easier, won't it?
I'm hoping for the helicopter.
You know, with the broad's frozen over, you can
Cross.
I can skim it.
Yeah, exactly.
we have an airboat, we can rescue you.
That's good. That's good comfort. Very good.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Mr. Bean,
Morning.
how are you? Good, how are you? Great.
That's for you, Ken.
Thank you.
Now, if you guys want a copy of this video.
Why not?
Okay, so since December 1st, we've actually plowed or treated the roads 23 times already. We've had more ice this year than normal. It's been a bad year for that. And, I noticed when we go to get more sand over at the Osby Ag, we're in a line, all the other town trucks are there too, we'll go to an Osby, we're all on a line getting sand. So we're all in the same boat there. We've also cleaned out some of the ditch lines and removed some of the plow hazards on Tuftonboro Neck Road and also part of Cross Neck Road. We had several big trees that were removed on Tuftonboro Neck Road and several more to be removed. We are in the process of refilling the sand shed. And we have straightened out some of the signs, replacing signposts that, around town as needed. And that's pretty much all we've had time for.
Okay, I don't see any count on the mailboxes that have been removed, but my phone's been ringing constantly. I did get a return phone call from a person that said that your crew was out straightening, replacing, putting them back up. So that's good to hear. How do you feel you're doing along those lines?
Well, that's last snowstorm, we got the rain.
Right.
And we hit the mailbox
I'm
with a
aware.
plow. The plow never touched them. But when you have just like a couple little screws with no washers holding on a mailbox on a skinny little post and slush it's gonna pull through and you can slap it off with your hand. They're not gonna hold up to that. They gotta be installed a little bit better. And sometimes we have plastic mailboxes out there. And what happens in the cold? Very brittle.
It's brittle, yeah.
So the doors come off and stuff. I have talked to my guys saying, slow it down just a little bit more when it's slushy, just make sure we don't push slush, but it doesn't go over the banking sometimes when you do that either.
Right.
And then it makes the roads narrow. So it's a little bit of a battle when you're trying to get the snow over the banking and not hit mailboxes. I've done it myself, I understand how it happens, it's very easy to do. Sometimes just 2 or 3 miles an hour faster. If you're going 15 and you move up to 18 downhill, it's just enough to knock the mailbox off. It's not like we're going 40. Everybody thinks, oh, I saw him going 49 Oh, we don't. Because we're in second gear.
You're not bonusing your help for the number of mailboxes they get rid of?
What's that?
Or that's just an apartment?
Oh, yeah.
There's no nuns to hit, so you gotta.
So we are trying to, square away the ones we can. But one of them that I took a picture of it. I actually sent you the picture. The post got knocked over. Well, I showed you the picture on the bottom. The bottom of the post was all rotted. So there was very little wood actually holding it anymore. Half of it was already rotted. And I get that. I don't even think it was that old. They just, the type of wood now that they use, the better chemicals that are supposed to be less harmful, they rot out in just 5 or 6 years now.
Right.
Yeah, they don't.
Pressure treated isn't as good as it used to be.
Not even close. No, they have a short life expectancy now.
Well, I did get a return call from one fellow that was pleased that you boys were out fixing things. And so I'd say for the moment the heat is off, but don't hesitate to answer the phone or check the messages at the town garage.
So the addition of Willand Road, how's that
Yep.
working out
Yeah.
for you as far as winter maintenance is concerned?
It's helped as far as, getting the road wider and stuff like that. It's definitely made it a lot easier. We still have, ledge sticking out in a few areas that I'd like to remove still that are wing biters. They can rip a wing off if you do hit them. We've got them marked, but at some point we need to remove it. We also have a culvert that's narrow, which creates a narrow section of the road.
Right.
And the reason why that was narrow, the culvert was shortened, was ledge. So I'd like to hammer out that ledge and extend that culvert wider to make that section of road wider and less of a hazard coming down. But I do feel it is, a big improvement. The sight lines are better and everything.
I think when we last talked with you, you had a contractor, Hammer, coming out to look at doing work on that ledge.
Correct. I got an estimate and he was gonna come back, but we've decided to wait till spring at this point. Just can't see it.
Right.
It's hard to find, and I think we'll do a better job of
Yeah.
waiting till spring. Plus, when he did, he was working up top. at that time. And when he came down, you know, he had a heck of a time getting back down because of ice and, you know, those tracks go sideways very
Yeah.
easy. They're like skates sideways. He said it was very hair-raising trying to come back down that, and he didn't think it was a good time to be doing any, you know, hammering on the road at that point. But he is planning on coming back when we call him in the spring.
Spring's right around the corner, so we're all.
Let's hope so.
Right.
Been cold enough.
Yeah,
It'll be cold one next week, I heard.
yeah,
The whole month of January.
yeah.
And we also added, what,
Farm Pond Road.
Farm Pond Road. Everything's all set over there? I think
Yes.
This is the first winter you've had that road, isn't
It is, correct. Yep, so, you know, we're still learning a little bit, but I think all in all, it's coming up, we're doing well with it. That road is
Yeah. it's
well
all
built.
paved.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of our best roads in town, so,
Yeah.
you know, we're lucky there. That's a beautiful place.
Good. So, one of the things that we talked about was replacing the plow truck. And as we're putting the warrant together this year, it's getting crowded out.
Okay.
So, what that means is whatever we need to do to keep the existing 10-liter operational, it's gonna have to go at least one more season.
Okay, I guess we're gonna have to keep welding some more patches on the body.
Yep. So.
And I think,
And if during the off-season, there's some maybe a little more extensive work that will help deal with some of the little this, that, and the other along the way, maybe work that in, I don't know. Anyway,
So far this year, we've had pretty good luck with it, much better than the last couple of years. So hopefully we'll continue.
good.
and I don't think, I think part of the discussion was I don't think the market's gonna allow you to get a real competitive bid on a truck this year anyway, if you can find one. It's hard enough to find one that you're looking at, let alone two or three that you can work it. And maybe we end up having, hopefully we don't, but maybe we end up having a contract out for that next December or whatever. But as Bill said, it just got crowded out. We're trying to keep the warrant article total about the same as it was the year before. And
Yep, understood. We'll do our best.
That was a used body, right?
Correct, it was probably 10 or
think-
15 years old.
Yeah, we
when
won't
bought it.
make that mistake again.
What's the difference between a whole truck and a body, a whole new body?
It's about 60,000 for a new body. Yeah, they don't give those away, and again, if you can find one.
Yeah.
That's also another
yeah,
thing,
you
it's
wouldn't
hard
put
to
a new
be.
body on that chassis.
Right.
I mean, there wouldn't be any.
I didn't know
Point out,
how the
really.
chassis was,
Mhm.
or was it?
It's a bad investment. You
Yeah.
won't see that 60,000 back when you trade it in. with that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem when you get to that age is you're gonna end up putting $60,000-$70,000 into a truck, and none of that adds any value to the truck when you go to trade
Right,
it
just
in. The
keeps
truck is
it
still
static.
worth 60 or 70,000.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
We all fight with that. It's a tough thing to deal with, you know, when you have an older truck, do you put money into it or you send it down the road?
Yep. So we had an invoice come in that looked like it was for some personal gear.
The bomber jackets?
Yeah.
I know the bomber jacket sounds like a fancy jacket. All these are just the safety jackets that have this bright green color to them. Since we're representing the town, I think that, you know, we need to have those, especially when we're working, directing traffic or working on the side of the road. We've had them in the past. We've always have gotten them in the past. It's just been a few years now. Been stretching them out. But I know that town truck took out a few jackets over the last few years when you're working underneath it on the side of the road trying to repair a hydraulic hose. It ruins the jackets. So I noticed that a lot of the guys didn't have jackets this year, and it was time to replace the ones that we had. They were pretty beat up. But that's all they are, they're safety vests.
Gentlemen, anything else for
I guess I'd wanna know where is it going on the budget? I mean,
As far as like a.
you get elected as road agent, our expectation is you're gonna give us a budget for the handling the roads, and that's what we're paying. But this starts getting into now we're gonna dress the help, and that's not really our purview. I mean, that's what you do as a road agent. That said, it should be in your road agent budget somewhere, and I'm not sure where it's going.
So it's under, I put it under general expense. We have like a $2,500 a year for general expenses, which, when the fire extinguishers are checked, things like that happen at the shop. That's, we have to pay for radio communication or something like that every year.
But that's town equipment. That's something we own, like the fire extinguishers, for instance, and that's to protect town property. Now we're buying clothing for employees that we don't have. They're not our employees, is what I'm saying.
Well, we're representing the town, and I don't know.
No,
it
I
just
appreciate
seems
that.
like it makes
Appreciate
sense
that.
to do that.
It's just,
It's got to come from somewhere. Do you want me to put it in a different expense?
yeah, I think I'd like to figure out how we're gonna, I mean, obviously,
I mean, they weren't super
gonna-
expensive jackets. They're the cheapest
No,
ones
no.
we could get.
and sometimes the argument over $100 is a lot stronger than the argument over $1 million. So that's what we're into right here. I haven't gotten a clue from my brothers here whether or not they're interested in signing that. If they are, then we'll just deal with this particular occurrence the way you dealt with it by putting it in miscellaneous. But if we're gonna continue this going forward, when we buy stuff for the firemen as well. but
And
they're-
transfer station, they all have the same bomber jackets.
But they're employees. You see, there's a difference there. I mean, we're hiring a fireman at a certain rate to do a certain job. We're hiring the transfer employees at a certain rate to do a certain job. You're hiring help to do work for the road agent. That's the difference. So I think where we were falling down on this a little bit was that it's your help, not our help, that we're buying shit for or stuff for. How do we, square that circle?
I mean, it's not like we wear them out to dinner or anything.
No,
These
no,
are
no,
just
I'm
when
not
we're
saying
working
you
for
do.
the, just
But
working for
if
the
it's your
town.
expectation that you need that
Just
in
when we're
order
working
to
for the
do,
town, not
in
anywhere
order
else.
to do this job,
Yep.
then we need to figure out how it's going through the budget. This is part of being a road agent budget. It's equipping that. I guess not to kill this, but you're gonna hire some guy to break up ledge. If he came to you after you hired him to break up ledge and said, I need steel-toed boots, so I'm gonna charge you for my steel-toed boots, how would you treat that?
I understand your point, I guess. But at the same time, we have been doing this right along. This is not new. I've been here
Okay.
13 years.
It just struck us as new, Jim.
Because I think it's been a few years since
Well, it's
we've
new
got
to
it.
me because I'm the new selectman.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think it has been a few years since we've got it. It's not an every year occurrence.
Yeah.
This is, but we've always have done that. And this is the first time it's ever been brought up.
I would think that there's some expectation of keeping them safe. as
Oh,
far
yeah,
as,
yeah,
the
no,
whole thing.
if we don't buy them, Jim's gonna buy them.
And then I'm gonna have to figure out a way to charge you for that.
Yeah, and
And I'm gonna have to charge you probably even more because I don't get the same deal that you guys get.
that would be the expectation, would be that, I mean, from my point of view as a selectman, my expectation is, yeah, you've been elected road agent, you're giving us a charge for something
Mhm.
involved with doing the roads. That's part of the deal.
So I guess what I say, I think, is that if we buy these jackets, reflective jackets, whatever you want to call them, safety vests, they hang in the town garage until they're needed to be used. They're put back in the town garage, and when everybody that you hire quits and you have to hire new people, those vests are still there, and they may or may not fit the size of the person that you get.
We get all XLs. they're all the same.
Okay.
One size fits all.
So,
Lucky.
well, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm fine with that.
It's town equipment. I guess
Right,
that's-
this is town equipment.
Yep.
You're gonna take it out of general expenses, is what you're telling us.
Yes. Or in the past, I think it could have come out of even signs or something like that.
Okay, well,
Because it is a safety. When we are on the roads directing traffic, you absolutely have to have them. It's not even a question. But we can do that,
Yeah, it's a requirement.
yes.
Yeah, we may want to look at adding a safety line to the budget for the road agent.
sure.
Just
Makes
to
sense.
Yeah.
clear it up a little bit, because there's probably other things you, I don't know. Do they still use flares on the road or triangles or
We
whatever?
have triangles in the trucks, yes.
You have signs,
You got the-
stop and go, or whatever it is, it's slow.
Yes, we have those, but those come out of signs.
Okay, because there is a line item for that, yeah.
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
we do have those, and we have recently bought a few new signs, because our old signs were getting beat up. They just don't last like they used to.
I think we add a line to the budget, move forward.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
You're free to go.
So, one of the things that we've had issues with in the past is people plowing snow out of driveways onto the town road. Has that been an issue this year?
Not that I've been aware of, so I think it's actually
Yeah.
gotten much better.
Yeah. So I guess I would just suggest that you let your guys know that if they see it, if they run into this situation, that that's something that we want to highlight and
Okay.
remind people not to do. So if they're seeing it and they're not telling you because it's not too bad, then once it gets bad, then it becomes
Well,
more.
we haven't really had that much snow. I mean,
We haven't, no.
Correct, it's small amounts at
You
a
get a
time.
foot or a foot and a half of snow, and you're gonna find,
Yeah. I mean, I am aware of one spot where somebody does push across the road. He's an older gentleman, he does a very nice job, he cleans it up very well. And, it just hasn't been a problem, but
Some of these driveways is very difficult.
And that's what it
So
is.
if you get, if you,
He has no choice.
if you get a steep driveway
And that's
coming
how it
down to
is.
the town road, it's like, it's very difficult to plow it someplace other than straight down and across.
Yes. And he's been very good about it. He comes, he
so if
talks
I'm
to us.
really good about it and I do a really clean job, I can just push it across the
You?
street.
No, not you.
I'm getting old.
And he has no other place to do it, you know what I mean? It's like he boxes his side of the road in first, and then he runs out of room, and he goes across, but it has never been an issue. He's been
Yeah.
very good about it.
Well, and so, and that, I guess from my standpoint, I understand that. It's the guy that just, okay, I'll push it out there and
'Cause it's
let,
fast.
let somebody else worry about it. And then the
Yeah,
town
well, that's
guys gotta
exactly
come
what
along
happens, yeah.
and deal with it.
But he's been excellent. He comes to us, he's told us about it ahead of time. He's like, I ran out of room, I apologize, so I did go across. He's been very good about it, so.
And we haven't culverts freezing up. It's been cold enough for the last couple of days.
We've been okay, because I don't think they've really thawed out. It's when they thaw out, we're gonna have a problem with the water trying to go through and not
Yeah.
making it. Yeah, I mean, we are.
So maybe
We're
we need to
freezing,
get
but-
some more beavers. Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, what do the beavers do in the winter?
Sleep. Did you ever watch Beaver Show on the television? They live in those beaver houses and they eat branches and talk to one
I used to
another.
watch Leave It to Beaver.
They didn't hibernate.
Yeah. All right, anything else for Jim?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. All right. Is Andy out there? Well,
No? Okay.
come on down, chief.
How you doing this morning?
Never better. How about you?
So you have a breakdown in front of you for 2022 so far, 2021, and 2020. So far in 2022, we've had 11 fire calls, 26 medical calls, 11 service calls, totaling 48. gas burner inspections 2, oil burner inspections 0, wood pellet stove 0, life safety 1, 3. At the end of 2021, we had 639 emergency calls total, as you can see. And that a little higher on the medical side, obviously, than fire calls, but not too far off. On December 28th, 2021, 5:21 p.m., we had a reported second alarm structure fire at 25 Shirley Way, and the press release is attached, and this is something that we had sent you ahead of time, so that, I won't go over that any further.
Can I interrupt you for
Sure.
just a second before I forget? I noticed from what I read that there's no water up on Shirley Way.
Correct.
So is that something we need to look at? And is it possible to put a standpipe in back down to the pond behind Shirley Way? Is there,
To the pond, no. It would have to be a cistern
yeah,
there. Shirley Way, Baxter Woods, the new development that is going in on Ledge Hill, those were all developments before anything went in with, for life safety as far as 7 houses or more.
but Ridgefield Corner has a pond. Detention pond.
They have a retention pond, and they've agreed to expand that for a water source.
Right.
And hopefully that will work. But they technically do not have to do anything there as far as for a water source, because that was before my time and whatever, as far as that development.
Before it was a requirement, yeah.
But that may be, the different areas in town that do not have a particular water source that's available. That's something that we may want to look at, and I think that we had discussed it in the past, but it's just so expensive as far as putting in a cistern. It's over $100,000 for a 30,000 gallon cistern. And it's just getting more expensive as you go along. And then you have to have a site or easement somewhere that you can put the cistern. It takes up quite a bit of room as far as it goes. And usually people are pretty good about, allowing you the space, but people don't want to spend the money to do that. It's not developments and stuff like that. So that would be something the town would look at as far as, whether you put money away each year, and as you, in a capital reserve, as you get to the amount of money that you can put one in, you put one in. But so far, things have been so that money's tight, because of large projects, and we haven't been able to do that.
Well, it would strictly benefit, or primarily benefit,
That particular
Shirley
area.
Way, for instance.
Yes, correct.
So there's no reason we couldn't do something with a,
Similar to Willand Road, you mean?
right,
Yeah,
right, where
could be
each
done.
taxpayer pays a little bit
Right.
each year. Town prints money, but it gets popped up.
And that is the thing with most areas. If this isn't benefiting me, why would we want to have to pay for whatever as far as town-wise? But that's the way things are.
Well, the
So
town
in
is,
this particular case, with this particular fire,
Mhm.
if you'd had a water source closer, would it have made a big difference in your ability to?
It wouldn't have made a big difference because the fire had been burning for 45 minutes to an hour before it was.
It was a vacant structure at the time.
Yes.
No, unoccupied, I should say.
Until someone came along and saw the fire burning, we had no chance in the beginning of that. But when it comes to houses, as far as that, they're seen right off, whether it's an alarm system or whatever, to be able to get water, either lay a line from the water source to the fire, or get water more readily and quicker,
Mhm.
it makes a big difference as far as it goes. This one, it wouldn't have made a difference whatsoever.
And does it really affect people's homeowners insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it's not huge money that affects it, but it does.
Well, it's
It does
a year.
affect it as far as, you know, if you live within 1,000 feet of a water source, a certified water source, whether it's a cistern or like Pier 19 area where we keep that bubbled and open year round, that's a certified water source. The ISO recognizes that the last time that they came around and did their assessments. So anything within 1,000 feet of that gets a reduced rate because you're near a water source, as far as I'm suggesting. So there was a question of why we didn't go to 20 Mile Bay and get water from there, and the answer to that is we know that Pier 19 is open year-round. It has an area that we can turn around and not get affected as far as, 20 Mile Bay, we'd have to figure out how to turn the trucks around. So you're coming into a dead end basically, and then the trucks have no place to go besides back up the road and then come back in. It's 1.7 miles from Pier 19 to the fire scene, and it was a quick trip back and forth. We called enough apparatus in so that within the first 5 minutes of the truck that I was driving that dropped off, engine 4 dropping off the water to the first truck that was in, there was a 5-minute lapse of water, and then water was continuous from there as far as dropping it off. We never lost it again.
Sort of a big bucket brigade.
So the key is to getting enough help in quick enough, because it takes time to get from Tama, West Ossipee to Ossipee's Wolfboro and stuff like that. So we try to be prepared as much as possible with that and get as much on the road as that we feel. But we certainly can look, down the road at affected areas and say, hey, we suggest this, and go from there.
Well, it's gonna be on the top of people's mind that live down there, because they saw it happen.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe it's time to,
Definitely early warning is a key. When something can burn in a garage for 45 minutes, we could see it from a neighboring camera. You can see it, that it's just a little orange glow at whatever time, and then all of a sudden there's a big glow.
I can see the big glow from my house.
So
You sure that wasn't Gunstock?
It's the wrong color,
Okay.
kind of reddish glow.
but we can look at that and make some suggestions and look at it in the future.
Yeah, just in case we may have people from that neighborhood that show up and wonder if there's something else that could be done.
Sure.
Always more of a challenge with an unoccupied structure, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Once it's fully involved,
It's
you're
very tough to go from the, anything that, if you saw pictures of it, what is standing is what it was when we got there. I'm amazed of what they stopped with what they had initially as far as it goes. January 1st, 2022, it should have been 11:28 p.m. In the area of 197 Kingswood Road.
And it's
Kingswood.
a lot of typos here.
Yeah, well, you do it first thing in the morning. We were involved in recovering a canoeist that drowned on Lake Winnipesaukee. And again, that was forwarded to you so that you knew that ahead of time, but just for today's update, because it happened in this time period. And the press release is attached to the back of this. Tuftonboro Fire Rescue Department and Stewart's Ambulance responded to a 2-car motor vehicle accident, January 28th, 2022, 1:48 p.m., Mountain Road in Ledge Hill. And I put that in because that was what we were discussing today. That was the last accident, and there was, both vehicles ended up being towed, and there was no injuries reported in that incident. January 11th, 2022, 9:17 a.m., Tuftonboro Fire Rescue responded mutual aid to 108 Ronnie Road in Wolfboro for a second alarm structure fire. We assisted with that. January 21st, 2022, 10 a.m., our airboat and 4 personnel assisted the New Hampshire Loon Preservation Society, New Hampshire Fish and Game, and several volunteers in trying to rescue 10 loons which had molted and were in the area of the Broads on Lake Winnipesaukee. Working with the various agencies, it was a good training session. We were unable to successfully capture those loons on Friday, and they were monitoring to make sure that they didn't freeze in, 100%. And looking at the news this morning, they were able to capture them after things froze in, to the point that they couldn't really move that far, and they successfully captured all 10 alive. So. The number 2 furnace at the central station had a fan sensor replaced. We had to wait for that part to come in. It was a couple weeks, and that part finally came in, and it was replaced on January 21st, 2022. I have met with the town moderator, Dan Barnard, on the 21st in reference to the town meeting being held at the fire station. The central station can hold 520 people at 7.5 feet per person. That's with no chairs, no tables, and no staging. That's standing the whole time. 260 people with chairs and staging, 15 square feet per person. The parking area or parking lot has 21 parking spots, which currently 6 are occupied by snow piles. All our snow gets pushed up to the upper side, and there's no place to put it besides there in the parking lot. The apparatus and equipment would have to be pulled out the same day and kept out all day, all night, until the town meeting was done. And the bay doors would have to be used as egress, as that obviously the bay are not set up for that amount of people to be egressed, so we would have to look at that. The apparatus will take up a large amount of the parking area somewhere along the lines, and we'll have to watch for the pumps and the equipment on the apparatus from freezing. They would have to be left running all day. So that's something that we need to take into account as far as we're looking at the building for the town meeting, if that's the case. I was CC'd on the Max and Do email in reference to wanting copies of grant information. I can provide whatever we had, but I have no idea what he's talking about as far as the group for the elections. I would think that would have to be in the front office with whoever runs the elections.
You were involved with the first responder grant money
Yes.
that we got, right?
Yeah.
So
I know that there was some money that was received in reference to buying supplies for the whole thing, masks and stuff like that. But that was received by the town. I'm assuming that there would have to be copies of checks for that. That would be like the Gopher Fund as far as that goes. But whatever he was talking about, I have no idea for that. That email is attached in this for your information. But we most certainly will provide whatever information we have for our side of things. I followed up with Ivy Van with its MRI, who was working on the master plan info. the information in the fire rescue section was mostly incorrect.
Right.
Um,
Which is why I asked that they make sure that they contact each of the
Right.
departments.
I'm not hopeful after talking with them on the phone that it's going to be any better with that, just in my conversation. And I don't see how the information that they were putting there is going to help with developing the master plan as far as that goes. But hopefully what we had discussed gets put down on paper, but it seemed like that the person that I was talking to was more wanting to get it, just get a few things changed and go from there. But we'll see. I'm assuming that it'll come back to me for review before it gets put into the master plan and stuff. You have any further information that's needed, or?
Yep, all right. Should we move on to the town meeting discussion at this point while everybody is still here and Dan's here, and see if Jen can join us?
Yeah. I read Max's little PS.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, huh? Yeah. So this, whatever this organization is that he's after, not even familiar with it, so Center for Tech and Civic Life.
Yeah, I don't remember. Well, Dan and Jen can weigh in on whatever money they spent on the election that came out of COVID funding. Did you spend any? Or?
Yeah, that was the grant we got last year for $5,000.
Okay.
And basically that went into, I think it wound up in the general fund last year, but that
Yeah.
was what we supposedly were using for the tent this year, but I think it wound up coming out of town clerk budget, but. that was-
Okay, so maybe, Dan, you can bring us up to date on where you are in your thought process with respect to meeting location.
Let me join you.
Please do.
As we just heard from the chief, we discussed the town meeting situation relative to the fire station. And at the moment, given the fact that the school appears not to be a viable alternative at this point, the fire station is the second best choice that I can think of. It has some problems. It's got limitations in terms of the number of people who could be there. Parking is a significant problem. I don't know whether the sound system in there can be as effective as we might like, but that's something to find out. But if we're looking for a town meeting within the confines of the town, I don't know of another structure that is suitable for that purpose. There is an option, if you want to explore it, of finding another alternative outside the confines of the town that's permissible. But at the moment, I think the fire station is as good an alternative as I can think of.
And just for public purposes, what are you feeling are the constraints for the school that are insurmountable?
I'm sorry?
What part of using the school are you finding unacceptable?
Well, I think it all relates to the school district's desire that anyone who enters any of their structures wear a mask or face covering. And given the present climate, I think that it's unreasonable to expect that everyone would comply with that, and it probably is. And we don't want to we don't want to shut a lot of people out from the town meeting, so we look for a venue that we don't have to have a requirement. We can recommend masks if that's the right way to go, but by not requiring them, those people who choose not to be masked in a public place can still attend town meeting. There are some possibilities. For example, we floated the idea in our discussion of asking if we could have a separate classroom set up outside the gym in which unmasked people could be in, be able to follow proceedings on television, be mic'd so that they can speak as they want to. That would require obviously some planning and some technical help, but that might be a possibility. I haven't discussed it with anybody in the school district.
Can I just add, when I did speak to the school, to the principal, that was what their recommendation was, just based on how the current school board meetings are being run, was to have that separate classroom. But again, I just don't know if we want to get into the logistics of separating people. And
The other question that we had was that we have units to decon the area after, whatever meeting is done in the fire department for this. Would the school board or school be willing to go along with that? Obviously you shut off, you don't allow anyone past those locked doors where the bathrooms are. And you use the bathrooms, you use the gym, and that's it. And we decon, the gym and the bathrooms, hallway, in that area with the stuff that we have provided from the state and whatever.
So at that point in time, what would you be recommending mask wearing as a school policy, but not enforcing it?
Right.
I guess.
But I don't know if they'll go along with that.
And as to having the separate classrooms, I know they're doing that for their school board meetings, but I'm hearing people say it's not working right. They're not being able to, technology-wise, they're not making it in.
It's not the same as being all in the same
Well,
room, for
right.
sure.
And we'd have to have at least 2 officers at the town meeting at that point in time. Because you're gonna have to have 1 in each space. I think that exhausts your capability currently.
It would be beyond what we could probably do, yes.
Yeah.
well, and I think also what the principal suggested is that people are feel very strongly about wearing masks or not wearing masks, and that it's angry, it can create a
So
situation, so.
the town meeting's on Wednesday. Obviously, there would be school on Thursday.
Right.
Is your intention to get this whole place deconned?
We'd do it before we left.
I think, maybe you know some, I don't, the Tuesday is the election, March 8th, I think it is. And the schools are closed on March 8th, the election. But aren't they functioning normally on the next day, on Wednesday?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so the students would be in.
So we're gonna have to decount it twice?
No.
Well,
Well,
We're
we using
we're
the
already
after
set
the
up to
election,
use the
one after
stool
the
for the
other.
election on Tuesday, correct?
Yeah. We've been approved for
Right.
both right
Right.
now,
So-
with the stipulation that we use them.
We've already said that we want to use the gym to do the
The
voting.
voting will be there.
And that arrangement's already been made with the school district.
Yeah,
So,
we need to, I think we need to confirm with the school district that we can, that they are still comfortable with the setup. We had the last election of setting up a separate entrance for unmasked people with a separate area where they can vote.
right.
But
that worked well.
I think that where most people can vote.
And it's, I know we got called there the other day for a parent that had breached the school without a mask, and he was very adamant, and it's not. People are kind of, there are a number of people that are very,
It's a hot button issue.
yes,
Yeah.
put it that way.
Very
No
much.
question about it.
So, from my perspective, for town meeting, I don't want that to be an issue,
Yeah.
okay? That's not what we're about in terms of presenting and dealing with the warrant and town business. That's somebody else's sword to fall on or whatever. And,
So they allow it for the voting, or you gotta find out if they're gonna allow that for the voting.
I'm sorry.
So you're gonna have to still have, I mean, it just seems like if they're allowing unmasked in a separate area for voting,
Oh, well, that was outside though, right? You were
The
No, it is.
the fall was outside, but
so I.
later it was over in the back corner of the
Yeah.
gym.
So
And
then,
it's a separate entrance, so they
Right.
come in separately, they stay in a restricted area, they
Right.
vote, and then they leave in a separate entrance. And that was acceptable 2 years ago, and I'm hopeful it's acceptable again.
And we don't want to do voting up at the town house.
In the townhouse? The townhouse is very, very small, and there would be obviously a good deal of congestion, not to mention the fact that I have
No,
election workers.
Just voting,
What's that?
just the voting.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
But we've traditionally done it there for,
Well, how do you segregate the masked people and unmasked people?
I don't know that you do. I mean, now we're dealing with
The
town
town.
policy,
Right.
not
That's
dealing
true.
with school
That's
policy.
true, yes, you're right, yep.
So,
That's correct, but we're also dealing with people, many of whom are still extremely concerned about the continued presence of the COVID virus. We know that the distance and duration, if you maintain a certain distance and don't spend a lot of time with a lot of people that you don't know, your chances are better of avoiding contact. We can't do that at the townhouse. We've got election workers, supervisors, as well as voters that are all into a very small space and will be there for from 7 o'clock in the morning until probably many of them until 10 o'clock at night. So it's not a practical place to have an election and at the same time to respect the fact that there is still a virus going on, there's still a pandemic among us, and there are a lot of people who would be very uncomfortable under that circumstance.
okay.
All right, so back to town meeting. The question with respect to using the gym is if the school district would be amenable to our using it under our conditions with our personnel doing a sanitation afterwards, right? That's what you're offering is you have the equipment and the,
We have the electric magnetic guns
Yeah.
as far as to decon the.
So that would be twice though.
Yeah, that's
We
fine.
have to do it once after the election and once after town meeting.
And you basically would just have to do the area where, you know, after the election, that you just let people in for mass, but
Mhm.
we can do the whole area. We have the product to do it.
I don't recall that, and I could be wrong, after the 2020 election, it seems to me the school district took care of the cleanup on their own,
they did,
that we were not
Right.
asked to do that.
right, right.
And then they decide they want to do it themselves this time. But I think it's, good neighborhood to
Well,
offer to do it for them as opposed to have them incur the expense for our benefit.
I don't want to speak for the school district, obviously, but the indications are, and I think Jen would confer with us, that if we had any chance of putting the town meeting into the gymnasium as we've done before, it would require an additional classroom, a separate classroom to accommodate unmasked attendees. I don't think that there's a chance that the school district will go along with a
Yeah.
plan of just simply generally allowing the public, masked or unmasked, to come into the town.
Even if we do the cleanup, even if it's
I
completely
can't
isolated.
speak for them, but my sense is they would not do it. What do you think?
That was my impression as well, because cleaning was never mentioned as a concern. I think it's more, our policy is if you're entering a school building, you have to be masked.
And it's not a matter of cleaning, it's a matter of deconning. We're
Right,
going
no.
through and spraying everything
Yeah.
that's gonna kill the virus.
Right. I know, I don't know if that's as much of a concern as it's their policy.
Right.
And I think but I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask. I
don't think the school district wants their building to become the center of a super spreader event. That's my sense, so they can speak for themselves.
We've come full circle, but I mean, we're back to the situation of having 2 spaces in the school.
Correct.
Police officers in both spaces, communications for all of this sort of thing.
Correct.
The
Moderators for
old
both.
separate but equal, right?
right.
It's no different than going to
But it can be
an
done, Chip.
overflow concert.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any real concerns about being able to have town meeting in any of the alternative spaces we're talking about. It can be done. It's just a matter of planning ahead and having the equipment and having the personnel to do it. But town meeting, we can run a town meeting, that's not a problem.
But it sounds like our alternative for having a single location town meeting is the equipment bay at the central station.
If it's within the confines of the town, that's correct.
Can have it outside the town.
And you run into all kinds of other issues when
So-
you start moving away from
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues in my mind, if you say we're gonna go someplace outside of town, is now you're asking people who we always are challenged to get people to come out anyway, say, no, we want you to drive, 20 minutes over here to go to our meeting in another town, and I don't know what alternative.
And unfortunately, I bet you the other alternative, which would be the arts building
Right.
at Kingswood, is
It's
school.
It's a school
restriction.
building.
You
Yeah,
get the
they're
same
gonna have the same
restrictions, so-
restrictions, yeah.
And possibly the old Molten Borough Lions Club, but again, you have to have people come out of town. Attendance is poor as it is. I'm
Yeah.
afraid it'll be even poorer if they have to travel out of town.
I agree with
Yeah.
you totally. I mean, we've got, I read occasionally that some people are concerned about having to go from Center Tuftonboro to Mellon Village to pick up a package. To get them to go to the Lions Club in Moltenboro would be that much more difficult.
Right.
And because there's no emergency declaration, we can't go to May or anything like that, right?
Right.
We're going to Maine?
May,
Oh,
like we
Maine.
did last year.
No. we're
And
not
I don't
gonna
wanna do that either.
We're not gonna do that. You don't
That's
want to do
terrible.
that
Yeah.
either if you want a police
We
department.
need to move along.
It's not done.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, challenges at the central station, parking space, place for the apparatus, how you deal with the apparatus.
Possibly sound system. I think if,
Kyle's a wizard, he can,
Yeah.
he'll have a sound system that works
I
wherever.
agree with that. I'm just looking at the space. Some spaces are a lot more difficult to deal with others. If there's a liability in addition to parking, how many people are going to come out for town meeting? We think historically it's between 200 and 300 people who show up on a year in which the agenda has some items of interest on it. So if we say that 260 people is the maximum number of people that can be seated in that space, that's doable as long as we don't get 400. If we get 400, we're gonna have to make, well, we'll be making arrangements for an alternative place anyway, should that happen, but, you know, that we may be moving to May at that point.
We may be moving to the next week, not
Yeah.
2 months.
I mean,
so.
and we haven't even calculated in, as you can't, but we haven't talked about the weather. I mean, we move all the fire apparatus outside the fire station, and all of a sudden we get a foot of snow. I hope my house isn't burning.
Right.
But it doesn't make for reasonable response time. Are you gonna be able to plug them all in out there?
They just stay running.
Stay running.
Just gonna
Oh,
buy
no.
one.
Pumps will be circulating water all the whole
There's a
time.
freeze.
And we don't know what the temperature's gonna, just a lot of variables here that we don't, unknowns. that we
March,
can't
you never
predict.
know.
No,
Yeah.
We've had
Tough
snow,
game.
we've had
Very tough.
warmth.
Yeah. So you have to park the equipment so you can get it out in an emergency. Where are you gonna put the people's cars?
That's a good
Are we
question.
gonna clear out Central Park and
Right.
hope it freezes and park them over there?
I would park at the school myself and walk back down, but that's just me. I'm young, healthy, I can carry a flashlight, blinking light, but not everybody can do that.
Right.
Yeah,
Could you
not everybody would do
shuttle
that.
people?
Shuttling sounds difficult. We
Well,
don't have the
that-
bus.
But that's another example of arrangements can be made. Maybe it's gonna be require a shuttle or some, you know, regular transportation between the school parking lots and the fire station. With good planning, we can pull this off.
Mhm.
That's all I'm saying.
All right, and when are we making our momentous decision?
Well, are we prepared to make the decision now?
I think we need to find out if the school will accept the decontamination idea and the whole 9 yards before we do make a decision.
Agreed.
And that can be done in a matter of hours, I would think, maybe days, but certainly by Friday we ought to know.
Well, I think we can, I mean, I can ask the principal, but I don't know if she can approve that. She might have to go to the school board.
Shit's
Or,
hard.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, kick it up higher, but
Yeah.
either way.
or we can go to Jack Whitmer.
Yeah,
Last time I went through with Jack Whitmer, but we waited for a school board meeting before they put their final seal of
Ooh, that
approval.
might be a while then. I don't know when their last meeting was.
I don't know.
If they meet monthly or how they do it.
I think they meet like the first or second Monday of the month, it seems
Yeah, it's
to me.
probably, the February one's probably coming up.
But that pushes it real close.
Yeah.
Boy,
Well,
Those are the
Don't
only
feel we could-
alternatives we have.
although it's all the same town meeting, we've got two events. We've got an election and we've got a town meeting.
Right,
So I think that
so the election's already settled.
the election, we've got a clear path. Hopefully, nobody throws any roadblocks into that, but I think we've got a clear path to the election. It's the town meeting that requires a decision.
Right. Well, I'm prepared to make a decision. If you guys want to wait, that's fine.
We'll make a motion and they'll see if
So-
I'm ready.
that's right.
Yep, so I'll move that we hold the business section of town meeting in the equipment bay at Central Station.
Well, just out of kindness, I'll second that, but I'm gonna vote against it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So any further discussion? So,
If they have, we'll have to be moved.
all right. So you're not in favor of it?
No, and for any number of reasons,
Okay.
primarily fire and safety, but
Okay.
I just, if it were any other time of the year, I'd probably be in favor of it.
Okay.
And just remember that all the chairs and podiums and stuff like that that you're gonna
Has
use
to come from
need to
someplace.
be moved there
Yeah.
from somewhere.
Yeah.
And then moved out.
Okay.
Well, motion was made and seconded. Are we gonna vote?
Are we ready to vote?
I'm ready to
All
vote.
right. So before we do that, let me ask you, so your alternative is we just meet at the school?
I want to exhaust the school possibilities before I go anywhere near the fire department. That's just my position, Bill.
Okay,
I'm more than happy to.
Mine as well.
and that's fine. We wanna put it off and explore that a little further.
Yeah, I like the idea of having all the information in front of us by Friday and
See if we can do that.
see if we can do it.
Yep.
Yeah, not my call, but we'll try.
Okay. All right, so Jen, are you gonna reach out to Jack? You want me to reach out to Jack?
Maybe both of us.
I know Dan has communicated in the past with him about the last year, so I don't know, Dan and Bill, if you want to.
No, I sent Jack an email, but I mean, I think there needs to be dialogue between the school board, school district, and the town. So
Yeah.
you and I can both reach out to Jack.
Okay.
And I think to emphasize that we want to make a decision by Friday,
Yeah.
so.
The other thing I would emphasize is that we're not going past the locked doors. You know,
Right.
we're not going throughout the school
Right.
like they normally do.
Mhm.
I know that the front doors on past town meetings, people walk throughout the school.
Right.
You shut it down right at the locked doors that separate the rest of the school out.
Right.
That eliminates the possibility of a separate classroom.
Right.
But I
But
think
this
that's
is
what we
looking
wanted.
for just using the gym, deconning it, and
Mhm.
using the bathrooms. If you've got
There are
to use,
people without masks in there. though.
yes. If you got to use a separate classroom, that's something else. You need to find out about that also.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a distinction without a difference. If you allow some people without masks in the gymnasium and you clean it, or you put all the people without masks in a classroom and you clean both, I don't see the difference there.
yeah.
And they have an opportunity to go throughout the school because
Right.
now they're past those
Right.
There's
those
no
locked
outdoors.
doors.
locked doors.
Mhm.
It's isolated to just the gymnasium for our purposes. That's what I would think.
Yep. All right.
Mhm.
I'm convinced that the meeting can progress without me for just a moment.
All right.
We done?
I think we're done, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, Chief.
So someone will let us know.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let
Yeah,
you know in
sure.
March.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks. See you later.
So I was, got guys out.
Chief hasn't done his update yet either.
Well,
You wanna wait?
Drew and
I
here.
know.
I actually should run up and I got somebody waiting for
Okay.
a minor thing.
Where, you want to come back?
I'll come back.
That's fine, yeah.
Mr. Druin.
Yep.
Do that.
So you weren't involved in the that was just,
I am not familiar with it, so I'm not involved from that reason anyways. I don't know if it covers me or not, but
no, it was COVID money.
no, I've not got any COVID money.
Fire department had that.
Yeah. Well,
Morning, how are you guys?
good, how are you?
Good. Good.
I could do mine when I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Drew, the floor is yours.
Good morning, how are you guys?
Good.
So I'm here on behalf of the Friends of Pop Whalen. We're a nonprofit group that had gathered, formed in 2019 to do some improvements at the Pop Whalen Arena, actually to do an expansion. So our goal on our project initially was to basically increase the space on the right side of the building. As we got into the project, we determined that it really didn't make any sense to do the expansion unless the building itself was brought up to code. So there were several issues: electrical, there's roof leaks, and subsequently, as we went into the project, there were structural issues with the frame and things like that. So we worked with the town, local Parks and Recreation, and Brewster and the other users of the facility, and basically came up with a plan to do the expansion and renovation of the facility. So why I'm here today is part of the history of Pop Whalen is that when this building was built back in 1987, it was on land donated by Wolfboro. It was a community project, and it was done and paid for primarily by Wolfboro, Tuftonboro, and private donors. So Tuftonboro paid 12%, the town of Wolfboro paid about 30%, and private donors paid 60% of the project. So this has always been, in fact, even the deed that on the property, I believe, for Abenaki is that it's deeded to the residents of Wolfboro and Tuftonboro for recreational use. So this facility over the years has historically been used as a community event, property. And I know that you, Tuftonboro, pay annually for, to use it as, your residents use it as you get resident rates and things like that. So it's actually operated in that manner under an agreement that you reached with Wolfboro years ago. So anyway, my request to you is we have a new project. We've gone through Wolfboro. We have the Board of Selectmen have a warrant article that's been written and approved by the Selectmen. We went to the Budget Committee several times last year. We have firm pricing pretty much to get this thing. Of course, we don't know with inflation, but we have Budget Committee approval in Wolfboro, which was unanimous. It was 8-0, and it will be on the ballot in March for approval of this building. And for me, as a property that I believe personally, is a benefit to Wolfboro and Tuftonboro, and coming to you guys and asking you if you would contribute financially to the project as you've done in the past. And I know you may already have your budget for this year done. This is a project that would in Wolfboro not be bonded until 2023. So if we've missed the window for this year, I know in Wolfboro we were pushing right up to the end to get our final numbers in, so we had a real project before we got it into our warrant process and budget process. And but certainly if we don't do anything on this year, I would certainly appreciate your consideration, for next year, that you guys have this in your tracker and you know about it, and keep this thing in mind. And I could certainly come back at a later date with more details. But
So what is the budget?
the total budget is what was approved by the Wolfboro Budget Committee was $6.9 million, including contingency. The project is about 6.4, with 500,000 in contingency money for For,
So, I'm sure, we're doing a police station, so I understand the
Yep.
budgeting process there. But I gotta, I mean, my other friends here can speak for themselves, but I can't see us doing $1.3 million,
Yep.
which would be 20%.
Yep.
And whatever we do would end up being on a warrant article, just like Wolfboro.
Right.
So-
No, and I'm not, I don't think, Chip, I don't think I'm asking you for 20%. I think back in the day, you paid 12% in 2017.
Okay.
You paid about 12%. You know, the town of Tufton Borough may say, look, we're in for 5%, right?
Okay.
We're in for 10%, whatever that number may be, what you guys see as the value for your residents. I will say that, you know, this project is, you know, 6 million, the town over the last 4 or 5 years, and between the fundraising and what the town put about almost $1 million into the ski area, between the new lights, the new snowmaking, the lodge and stuff. So I mean, and last year, the mountain bike club, that are also accessible to all the residents and stuff, that's head ends out of Abenaki. They dropped another 350, 400,000 on that project and did the first 8 miles of what's going to be 26 miles of mountain bike trails. So it's becoming, in my opinion, a nice asset for the region, I certainly hope that you guys, I know it's a lot of money, it always is, you know, police stations, libraries, you guys did a library a couple of years ago, and you know, the police station, you just finished your fire station. I know that these capital projects, and Wolfboro is not any different. You know, we've let a lot of these projects go a little bit, and some of them too long, and the numbers have ratcheted up, but you know, again, I certainly, you know, I'm thankful for your time and your, you know, you guys thinking about this as to whether, you know, something you'd like to take part in or not, so. So on
Well, the
that,
other-
Chip, we did a 5-year look back with the
Yeah.
town, 6-year look back actually, and the rink itself operationally kind of covers itself. It's, I think, lost $5,000 in the last 6 years total, which is the bottom right of that sheet. So it really collects enough user fees to float, and that's about it. But the building itself has never created enough revenue to really pay for its ongoing maintenance and upkeep that was necessary. The building is only currently used 5 months a year, 5.5 months a year total. And it's an uninsulated building, so the goal would be to insulate it, put in all the climate controlled equipment so that this thing can be used 12 months out of the year and create additional revenue. So that's a forecasted budget for 2023 once the construction will be complete and what the new budget would look like going forward. So that's what you have there.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that we've struggled with Wolfboro is usage. I mean, you probably know that Tufton pays them an annual fee for something.
Yep.
And we've tried to get some sort of
Statistics?
Yeah, statistics on how many Tufton kids are doing stuff in Wolfboro and their programs that justify this expense. I mean, I know that it's always kind of below the radar, but that whole property was left to not only Wolfboro, but Wolfboro and Tufton by Hersey. So I'm hoping, I don't ski at Abenaki, but I'm hoping there's benefits to the Tufton residents who ski there. I don't skate at the Popple Inland Rink, but I'm sure there's kids from Tufton that are in the programs.
Right.
I'd just like to know how extensive that involvement is.
Yeah, and I spoke with Christine Collins about that last week to try to make sure I kind of understood what, and she does provide a report, but you're right, it's weak, right? It doesn't give you a ton of information. It's people that sign in. If I sign in for the ski mountain, it may know if the guy that's signing in knows me and knows that I paid my fee or bought my annual pass, they just wave you through. So there's no great track of, so, I mean, she logged in 21, something like 700 or 800, sign-ins. But was that?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't know what that means.
Right.
So
We don't either,
does that mean that
unfortunately.
you showed up 10 times, or does that mean that 700 people showed up, right? We don't know that.
You're saying 700 from Tuftonboro?
Right,
Okay.
yeah. And I know that the POP supports, all the local schools, Tuftonboro, Brookfield, Ossipee, New Durham for the kids skate, and
Hockey program.
Back Bay is part of the hockey, Back Bay is a pay, so that's separate. So the rink wouldn't necessarily track Back Bay hockey or anything like that. So as to those, I mean, Back Bay could produce it. We have it. We have that info, but that's not necessarily a town track. That's not what, when you guys write an annual check to Wolfboro, you're really paying for Tuftonboro residents to get Wolfboro rates.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
For the mountain and for the POP, for
All the
public events.
Yeah, and there are programs that are done at
The Nick and things like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, so, but,
Looking at this sheet, I can see that Brewster Academy cheaped out in a really big way. I'd be wringing their neck to fund the whole thing, and it wouldn't even put a dent in their finances.
so Brewster is part of the Friends of Pop Wayland, and they are contributing, so I don't know if they're gonna pay the whole thing, but.
They could,
But,
or build their own, which I'm surprised they haven't yet.
but,
I'm too worried about basketball.
Rinks are expensive to
Well.
operate, so,
Yeah, the Smith Center.
yeah. So anyway,
All right.
is this, with you guys, what would be the next step? Is this something where at some point you talk to your budget committee, the Tuftonboro Budget Committee? Is this something that's a selectman driven? You guys would make a recommendation? What would be my
Yeah,
follow-up?
we generally create the warrant articles at this table and then present them to the budget committee for approval or not approval. So I guess your next move from our standpoint would be just public information, and the more people in Tuftonboro would come forward and say they support this project, the more likely we are to come up with a warrant article in next year.
Definitely a poke around August,
Right.
which we start thinking about the budget and the warrant articles and say, hey, by the way, remember? And that would help a lot.
Plus, you're just starting your fundraising effort right now, from what I hear. You've got some of it done, but
We've got about half,
do you?
yeah.
Okay, so knowing where you're at is gonna generate some,
It'll be helpful to us for
I'll
sure.
just come to you for the balance, you get it?
yeah, well, that's not gonna happen. Let's,
I'll write a personal check.
So the Friends goal was 2.7. We're pretty close to halfway,
Oh, good.
which is nice, so it at least gave the Wolfboro Selectmen a feeling that it was worth adjoining the project, because they could have just said, I'm gonna just fix the building, and when you get your money, then you can do the expansion later. But it would have fragmented that project, and the goal is to obviously just do it as
Well, they
one.
didn't mind doing that on the Libby, so I don't know, I guess they like hockey better than they like stuffed
Well,
animals.
we get a lot more visitors, so
Yeah.
we do 62,000 visitors a year at the POP, so that doesn't include the ski mountain, so that's a lot. So come back here, plan to be back in August and
August or
give you
September,
guys
yeah.
an update and.
Let's know what's going on.
Yeah.
Keeps it fresh, and
Awesome.
then we can see where we're at.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you guys for considering.
Thank you for
it.
coming in.
Appreciate
Thank you.
your time and.
You're welcome.
Sorry to have to make you
Thank
wait
you
so
for
long.
sneaking in behind me.
Yeah, I know, I came in to ask a question about a lot, but I thought I'd say hi to one of my favorite board of selectmen in the state of New Hampshire.
Oh, come on now.
I think he was running
He's
for
at high
office
vote.
or something, you know?
Yeah, but I was looking at, there's a lot of land that I'm looking about purchasing up on Melody Park, so.
Okay.
See you guys. Thank you.
You guys done with your budget season?
Pretty much.
Well, we got a budget hearing on the first week of February.
Yeah. All right, so we are waiting on Chief to, did you have a question for us?
Nope, I was just in and I didn't even
Right.
realize you guys had a meeting today, so I thought I'd say hi.
Right.
and I'm gonna break out now, though. Good to see you, John.
All
All
right,
right.
be careful out there.
Well done.
John.
All right, well, let's move on to the signature file. First, we have a couple of veterans exemptions for, this is 29/3/33.
I just passed Andy going there. Well, there it is.
I'll move approval of that veterans exemption.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And the next one is for, you don't have the property on here.
2921.
2921?
I'll move we approve that.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Come on down, chief. Okay. And we'll deal with the rest of the signature stuff going forward. What's going on, chief?
So,
22, right?
Yep.
Gotta change that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
did we write 21 on
Yes,
this
we
one? I
did.
think I
Yes, we
did.
did. My fault, I started it that way.
I'll change guys to.
slip and capture.
All right.
So I gave you the activity for the year as to where it panned out.
Yep.
And I have, obviously, I mean, some of it's down because we just don't have the people that are out there. Some of it's because we're not covering as many hours, so some of the stuff is being covered by the sheriff's department. They're taking some of those calls. So that was the first thing. The next thing I have is this thing on ordinances, and I've asked about the parking ordinance that we put in a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it should go to the town meeting. I mean, you've asked me before, what's the conflict? Well, the biggest one is the fines. The fine in the what we passed at the town was started with a warning to much lower than what we had voted in that other, so I mean, I guess I'm asking again, put that back on the, put that,
So my question, and maybe somebody's answered it, is, my understanding is that the ordinance is within the authority of the board to enact, which we did.
yes and no. Because it was voted on by town meeting,
Right?
those parts, the town meeting can restrict the selectmen, not the selectmen restrict, change what they voted at town meeting, is my understanding of it. And when we went back and forth with Rick Sager before, he I thought he came to that agreement too, that because there's conflicts between them, it needs to go. You can set things on the use of town property. However, if the town meeting has already set restrictions, that would be supersede.
So you want to review all of the ordinances that we have? I mean, I'm not,
Well,
I'm
in
not
that-
ready to go to a warrant article.
In the ordinance that you put together a couple of years ago, it said this supersedes these ordinances from the past
Right.
and replaces. And the nice thing about that ordinance at the end, the one you put together, is that says, and the selectmen are agents to make changes if needed along the way. So it kind of clarifies all of that.
Okay, so we don't need a warrant article.
I think you do, if you want to clarify as to which it is, but
Oh, because you think those two things are in conflict, but it was
So the
one
conflict-
warrant article.
the conflict, for example, like the docking overnight,
Yeah.
it says a warning and it says this.
So no, let's go back to the government operation.
Okay,
Okay, the voters were given a warrant article. Was there something in that warrant article that was conflicting?
so they passed a warrant article back in the 70s and 80s, some of these warrant articles.
Yeah.
And they said, this is what the penalty is for, the big conflict is the penalty. If you park at the town docks overnight, it's a warning, and it's like a $20 fine.
Yep, I got it.
Now, your warrant that you your ordinance that you put together goes, it's much a higher fine. It also says that we can remove somebody that's habitually violating it. Their ordinance is silent on that. And so the problem we run into is if somebody's violating it, what
So
can we
we
do?
created an ordinance and we didn't create another warrant article to clear this up.
Right.
Okay.
That's my point, is there was an ordinance voted at town meeting, you created an ordinance saying this is what it should say, but it never was presented. And it wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't in conflict in some areas. So in other words, like the parking in town, that's town property, you can set that guideline, if you will. However, there was an ordinance in effect already about the docks and a few other things that is in conflict, especially the penalty part, and clarifying that if we can tow it out of there if we have to. It's something, maybe not this year, but something's gotta be considered. I know it's late, but I know I've been asked before to put it together, and I spent some time.
Okay. So we actually need to rescind that. We have to look it up, get rid of it.
It's mentioned in your town, I put it at the beginning, this supersedes, this one voted on this date, this one voted on that date. But reality is, the selectmen can't nullify a vote at town meeting. Well,
No, the town meeting can, right?
Town meeting can, yes. If you look at the town parking ordinance, was put in a couple places years ago, at the top it talks about that, what ones it supersedes. That's that. The next is, kind of staffing. I've done 2 memos on that. One is kind of outlining the process to hire somebody and how long it takes and the costs associated with it, so you have an idea of what it would entail. Part-time versus full-time, the cost is about the same. It would take several months to hire somebody part-time. Even if somebody walked in today, it would still take about a time, so we have to do testing, we have to do background investigation. And then I don't know how much availability somebody part-time would be. Full-time, the cost is the same, 40 hours a week. You could get, depending on the training that they need, you could get it done faster because full-time is working 40 hours a week versus part-time. It's tough to find somebody. I have, for example, I've reached out, this weekend is the Ice Fest. I still don't have, you talked about the voting needing 2 people. We need 2 people for Ice Fest, and I still haven't got a second.
And you'd offer that as a detail to whatever.
We've reached out so far to 3 towns. I'm gonna widen my net further, but
Yeah.
I still don't have a second officer for that, and that's me coming in doing one of them. So, that's, I mean, and I know in the past, there's been mention of, these towns that have part-timers. I was working yesterday, and those towns that had part-timers still didn't, they're very, very part-time. You know what I mean? They're there sometimes, but.
Really?
Yeah. There were several of those towns didn't have anybody on yesterday. So, just, I think the thing now is a lot of people they don't want to work beyond their shifts, their extra, they value their time off, some of the newer people coming into this. And that, I mean, the detail coming Saturday is more money than most places are paying for part-timers. I mean, it's talking 40, 45 or more an hour. And sandwich fare was down, over 30, I think it was over 30 people positions they'd opened they couldn't fill. I mean, it's just the way of the beast right now, I guess. It's the way that goes. So, anyway, that's kind of an outline of that. I did, like Adam mentioned, I did contact the group that was doing the master plan, because I had some concerns about the police section. They sent me an updated one, which I hadn't seen. They hadn't reached out to me. If you told them to reach out to me, they never did, except for an early call, and it resulted in something that really wasn't accurate. They gave me more fleshed out. I still had some concerns about it, but I reached out to them with my concerns, and I'll wait to see what the product that comes out of that is.
Well, my concern with those sections of the draft master plan is that whatever we put in about the police station, the fire station, other facilities, other capabilities of town, it is not erroneous, okay? That is accurate. And some of the stuff that's in there I don't think is accurate.
Right.
So, from my perspective, that's the thing that's most important to address. Let's not be saying stuff in here that we know isn't true.
Right.
That's different than reality. If what that means is you take the printout they send you and you line through and you change it to what you think it needs to be, feel free to give me a copy of it as well, and
Okay.
I'll work back to the master plan update committee on it. It's coming together. Got a consultant that's doing the bulk of the work on it, and which is fine. They have a template. They have an approach they take to doing stuff. They're doing what they do. So it's up to us as the town to say, this is not accurately reflecting the town of Tuftonboro, and we need to tweak it.
And I also got this from Phil last week, an updated monthly budget from the USDA, that one that we had before. This does reflect a $44,000 or
$341,063.
for the grant, but the difference between our contribution, before when the contribution, when you go up a little bit, which is applicant contribution,
Right.
it was only like about $160,000 difference. Like, well, why are we having this heartburn at town meeting? This one reflects more accurately what was discussed with Cobb Hill as to the increases. So that's the updated one of that. I did also reach out to him saying, like the signage that came up at the meeting. So they're supposed to be working on some other numbers on that. They did send me something on what a phone system might cost, around $7,000, because that's not in there. So he's supposed to work on a list of stuff that typically would be our stuff to buy, that's not in the price. And whether that goes in the budget or whether it goes through the building, which I think would go with the buildings if he don't need a new phone system if you look at the building. But, and the outside signage, that sort of thing, and how that, but we need numbers for that is where it's kind of at, so that's, we're working on that.
All right, so do they need our signature on this?
Well, one problem I have with this is it's coming out on 2 pages.
Yeah.
It's awful, so I
Yeah.
said to something to Phil about that. So I'm waiting for him to fix that.
Yep.
So I even tried shrinking it down, it still didn't do it.
I'm not sure what is he, if he's still working on the numbers, why do we need to sign anything? Just to say we received.
Well, at some point, we gotta get this to USDA, because they have to approve our new numbers too. At some point, we have to get something to them. That's why this is being generated, but that's, I think that's why he was putting this together, because we need to have the proposed budget, and remember they had a, you know, they had to look, they kind of had some heartburn on the earlier price per square foot. I mean, obviously it is what it is, but the market's different, but that's what,
All right, well, maybe we can find out if Phil needs this by
I'll ask Phil about that too.
today, or,
No, it's not, I'm sure it's not today, but he did say he knows what we need the numbers for the rest of that stuff, so we have a total final number. Like I said, he gave me the phone system estimate that they got from one place, which is a VIP system, which we don't currently have. I don't know what the monthly cost is and how that all would shake out. VIP typically with the internet though, so it shouldn't be as expensive.
yeah, I want to try to avoid things that are short money up front and long money on a monthly basis. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I understand that too.
There was an alarm, I don't know if it was alarm system or something,
0% financing.
no, it was like $5,000 up front.
If you lose in the long run.
Monthly rate was $1,000.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
$12,000 a year.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
All right. Anything else?
Key system, that was what one of them was, the locking system.
So we do have a short non-public that we need you involved in. Do we want to break and do that right now while you're here?
It's up to you.
I mean, I'm happy to do that, rather than try and drag you back.
Can I go home?
You may.
Well, I think you got Rod waiting up there too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think this is gonna take long with you, it's just, we need to.
Okay, shot non-public, thank you very much, have a nice day, have a nice week.
You too.
Let's kill this.